The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
We have our guest today, Orly Tates, and I think she's on the phone with us now. Are you there, Orly?
Yes, I am.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Easter. How you doing today? We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Yeah, we kind of got screwed up before, and then you were on here last week. I felt bad that, I was really glad that you wanted to come on this morning because it is Easter and everything, so we do really appreciate it.
Thanks.
So, with that, let's talk about, I hate to say it, Cotton Eye Joe, but
be nice
kind of feels that way sometimes because, we got a president here that is just not eligible, in my opinion, and he's never been vetted, and the media won't touch it. But the latest news that I have, maybe you can expand on it, I'm sure you're up to speed on, is an Alabama judge said that the birth certificate's false, even though they didn't weigh in on the decision, and they said that that he should have been vetted or be vetted by the Secretary of State to be eligible to put on the ballot. Do you know anything about this one, Orly?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This case was brought 2 years ago in 2012 before the election, and it was brought by a minor candidate on the ballot in Alabama and a Republican voter. And the case was dismissed by the presiding judge, who stated that the Secretary of State, basically he denied the request to see the certified copy of Obama's birth certificate that the plaintiffs were seeking, based on the opposition by the Secretary of State, who stated that she has no duty to check the documents of the candidates. And the case went to the Supreme Court of Alabama. Previously, there was another case in Alabama where one judge, Judge Thomas Parker, stated that if the case were to be brought properly by proper plaintiffs and through proper channels, he would want to hear the case because there is serious evidence of Obama's IDs being forged. So that was the second case. And they have 9 judges, and unfortunately 7 judges voted in favor of the defense. Only 2 judges, Judge Thomas Parker, who previously raised his concerns, and Judge Moore, who, as you know, is known as a judge who placed the monument with 10 commandments in front of the Supreme Court of Alabama, and he was removed from his position by the federal judges, and later on he was elected yet again. So Judge Moore has written an opinion stating that he believes that Secretaries of State should check eligibility of a candidate, and that should have been done in this case. Judge Thomas Parker also wrote a short opinion stating that he does not believe that in every case the Secretary of State has a duty to check, but in this case, since there was evidence that Obama's IDs are not valid, she should have checked the IDs. But again, due to the fact that the majority, 7 out of 9, voted to confirm the lower court decision for the case not to be heard and to be dismissed, it was dismissed in the Supreme Court of Alabama. That's the final result there. And I have wrote an article about it stating that Judge Moore could write this lengthy opinion when he knew that majority of judges will vote against it and there will be no repercussions. And I have written to Judge Moore a request to forward this information. Judges have actually vast powers to forward evidence that they have evidence of serious crimes to the district attorney, to the grand jury, county grand jury, and even federal grand jury. And I have written to Judge Moore that it is, of course, it is easy to write a dissenting opinion when you know that there will be no consequences, but what needs to be done is something of consequence. please, you have in front of you the evidence that was brought by the plaintiffs. Here is another 150 pages of evidence showing that Obama is using a stolen Social Security number, fabricated IDs. Please forward it to the county prosecutors, county district attorney, to the grand jury. And I received a letter from the clerk of the court. There was no name of a specific clerk. It was just printed clerk of the court, which kind of misrepresented my request. It stated that I wanted this to be sent to the federal court, and I didn't. I didn't want him to forward this to the federal court, specifically because there is so much corruption in federal courts, and they are working for the federal government. But, and also they stated, the clerk of the court stated that the court has very limited powers and cannot do what I asked. And that's not true. They do not have such limited powers. This is the Supreme Court of the state. They have evidence of criminal activity. Not only they have powers, they have a duty to follow this for criminal investigation and prosecution, and they did not do it.
Well, what do you think the reason is that? Is this because he's the first black president? Is this because it would cause such a constitutional crisis that nobody wants to touch it? Is it because the media is, in complicit here? I mean, what do you think is the big reason that nobody wants to touch this? Because I don't even think that, let's say that this is all true. Okay, he's not born here, he's born in Kenya, whatever it is. Even if that were not true, okay, he still doesn't meet the founding fathers' definition of a natural-born citizen. His father was a Kenyan national, and he was schooled in Indonesia.
Let me tell you, in terms of constitutional requirements, there is no specific law that states what was it meant by the U.S. Constitution, where it stated that the president has to be a natural-born citizen. What does it mean to be a natural-born citizen? And truth be told, that many, of course, liberals and people who are in Obama's camp are stating that natural-born citizen is somebody who was born in the country, regardless of what is the citizenship of his parents. If he's born in U.S., he automatically, at the time of his birth, gets the U.S. citizenship.
Well, you get U.S. citizenship. But if you go back to what the founders based the definition on in Vattel,
it is my position too. I also believe that a natural-born citizen is one who not only is born in the country, but whose parents are citizens.
Right.
And there are multiple articles stating that. However, this is not a settled issue. There was never a decision of the Supreme Court of the United States with definition. What does it mean to be a natural-born U.S. citizen? Does it mean only to be born in the country? Does it, for example, some judges believe that if your parents are U.S. citizens and you're born abroad, you are still U.S. citizen, natural-born U.S. citizen. Others believe that if you're born in the country, regardless of who your parents are. So this issue has to be heard on the merits. There has to be a decision. There was no such decision. And that is why when I saw that in multiple courts, the judges kind of what they were doing, they would disregard all the issues of Obama's use of fabricated IDs and his use of a stolen Social Security number, and they were concentrating only on this issue, and they would state, well, we believe that as long as he was born in U.S., he is a natural-born citizen, and here is Obama's Hawaiian birth certificate, and the issue is closed. Well, the issue is not closed. There was no determination by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court never took up this issue of what it means to be a natural-born citizen. But also what is even more troubling is that this man, we don't know who he is, and he is using all fabricated IDs, and not one single judge has addressed those issues. Not one single judge dared to order discovery and production of the original documents. And I believe the reason is because today NSA and FBI have any and all records of any judge who takes upon this issue, and I believe there is a lot of pressure on those judges, either blackmail with some history in their tax returns, their sexual history, or tax returns of their children, and the federal government has ways and means to lean on judges, threaten them, intimidate them, blackmail them, that if they rule against the government is going to go after them. And in some cases, I believe they might be paying off judges or all of the above, intimidating, blackmailing, and paying off.
Well, if we go back,
That's what
I was going to say, if we go back, we know that the intent of the founding fathers, it's irrefutable that they wanted both parents to be citizens so that the president would have no foreign allegiances, and he was the only one that had to meet that standard of natural-born citizens. So we know for a fact that they're circumventing the intent of the founders when they wrote it. Is that not true?
Yeah, well, it is true. And if you read when the Constitution was drafted, the first Chief Judge of the Supreme Court, Judge John Jay, wrote to George Washington saying, permit me to explain that it's important not to have foreigners in the U.S. government, that the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military has to be a natural-born U.S. citizen. There were multiple statements. For example, John Bingham, who have drafted the 14th Amendment, has written about it. But what the other side is using, they're using one case, and that was a case during the times of President Chester Arthur, who, as we know, is the only other president who had questionable eligibility for U.S. presidency. It's a question whether he was born in the U.S., because the family used to live in Canada, and also his father was still an Irish citizen when he was born. And it's quite possible that Chester Arthur was not a legitimate U.S. president. But there was a case, and that the case is Kim Wong Ark, and in that case, the opinion of the court stated basically that as long as you were born in the U.S., regardless of what the citizenship of your parents, you are a U.S. citizen. And one of the judges added that you're a U.S. citizen, you can even be a U.S. president, and that's what they're hanging their hat on this one opinion. And that case, of course, it dealt with a young man who was a son of Chinese workers
Orly?
who worked. Yeah.
Hold on there. Unfortunately, we have to go to a break and thank our sponsors, and we'll pick that up on the other side. So just hold on, and we'll be right back. This is Casey and
Sure.
We're back here with Orly Tates, and we're talking about all things Obama, all Obama fraud. We all know that this guy has lied about everything. In fact, I saw a program the other day that there's like 250 something documented lies by this guy, and why anybody wouldn't think that this guy would not lie about his birth certificate or his citizenship is beyond the pale as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't believe anything this guy says anymore. I'd just like to see some stuff to prove it, the records from his schools and so forth. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. I Googled what truth Googled in. What truth has Obama told?
It's like
I didn't get anything.
I got a goose egg. I got a goose egg.
I got nothing. So,
anyway,
there you go.
Go ahead, Orly. We're talking about Chester Arthur, I think, or the Kim Wong Ark decision.
Yes. So the case that the Obama camp relies on, it's called Kim Wong Ark, and it's a case relating to a young man whose family came from China. They were Chinese workers. He was born in the United States of America. Then the family went back to China, and when he was trying to return to the U.S., he was not allowed entrance, stating he has no visa, he is not a citizen. And the court decided that because he was born in the United States of America, he is a citizen. And as I said, one of the judges sort of added in his opinion, well, he's a citizen, he can be a president one day. So based on that, Obama's camp is saying, well, see, this decision of the Supreme Court that was in the 19th century, it's an old decision, and they're saying, well, that proves that as long as you are born in the U.S., you are a natural-born citizen and you can be the president. However, that case dealt only with citizenship. This young man, Kim Wong Ark, did not run for the U.S. president. So something that a judge states by the way, in his opinion, where he's writing on something else and he just adds something, that's not a settled issue. It's just a dicta. It's not, it's not a ruling. And it's something that he mentioned. And we do need a ruling from the Supreme Court confirming what we believe to be the case, that the meaning of natural-born citizen as founders considered to be is one that's born in the country with both parents being U.S. citizens. There's another issue. What happens if a parent has dual citizenship? Even if you were to believe that he had citizenship at birth, he had dual citizenship at birth because his father was a citizen of Kenya, which at the time was a British colony. So he had Kenyan citizenship, he had British citizenship. Later on, he acquired Indonesian citizenship. And there was never a decision by the Supreme Court of the United States whether a person with multiple citizenship can be considered a natural-born U.S. citizen.
Well, Thomas said they were avoiding it. There's a media clip that I've seen where he said, they're avoiding the citizenship issue. They don't want to hear the case for whatever reason.
Again, truth be told, when you listen to this clip, what Thomas was talking about was some citizenship of somebody who was born in Puerto Rico. And this was a congressional hearing where Congressman Serrano, who was born in Puerto Rico, was asking Justice Clarence Thomas whether somebody who was born in Puerto Rico, which is only a territory and not a state, can be considered a natural-born citizen and can be a U.S. president. So that's what Thomas was talking about. So far, they did not render an opinion on this issue. They just, I believe that our ruling oligarchy, which de facto is running this nation, a small group of billionaires who are pulling the strings of our Congress and our president and our courts, basically gave marching orders to the Supreme Court of the United States not to deal with this issue. And I believe because they find Obama to be the most convenient and most profitable. And keep in mind, people who are compromised, who have those big red buttons that can be pushed, are the best candidates for office for the ruling oligarchy because they can be blackmailed, they can be pressured, they can be threatened with the release of this information and so forth. And I would recommend everybody to listen to an interview that was given by Sybil Edmonds, who worked for FBI. She worked as a translator. She had information on 9/11 back in February of 2001, 7 months before 9/11, and she had provided this information and nothing was done. But in her interview, she stated that a whistleblower, FBI whistleblower, has contacted her and stated that he did background searches on candidates for federal judges. And he mentioned that the ones that were squeaky clean and had nothing on them were discarded right away as candidates. And only ones who has been compromised in some way, maybe they are closet gay, closet bisexual, they have some kind of questionable, shady financial dealings, those are the ones that were considered and became candidates to become a federal judge, and that's extremely worrisome. And I wouldn't doubt this for a moment because I have seen judges, both federal and state, coming up with the most outrageous, illegal, unlawful decisions, acting as bullies, harassing and intimidating both myself and other whistleblowers and civil rights attorneys, and being criminally complicit in the biggest cover-up in the U.S. history. And that's, of course, cover-up of the fact that we have a foreign national, Indonesian citizen, born in Kenya, who is sitting in the White House with a stolen Social Security number and fabricated IDs. And as a matter of fact, citizens can write to courts. People can go on my website. It's orlytatesesq.com or tatesreport.com, TAITZ, tatesreport.com, and they can see on the right side of of the first page of the cover page of the website something that's called Obama File, and all the evidence in regards to Obama. And also I'm publishing the docket of the 5 cases that are still being that are pending in different courts. And I cannot tell a judge what to do. I cannot influence the judge, and people cannot influence the judge. But people can write to judges stating this is an issue of national importance, this is an issue of the U.S. presidency, and we request that you hear the case immediately, expeditiously, that you hear it on the merits, that you decide on the merits on all the evidence showing Obama using a stolen Social Security number and fabricated IDs. And that's something that hasn't been done in 5 years. And the public can write to judges. You cannot influence the judge and tell him how to rule, but you can request that the judge hear the case expeditiously and that the judge address the substantial evidence, which they have not done for 5 years.
Wow, I find it just amazing, but, anymore, it wouldn't surprise me nothing surprises me anymore considering all that's happened in the country in the last 5 or 6 years. And, I just would like to know what the truth is here at some point. And we kind of know what the truth is, but nobody will talk about it that, has a nationwide voice. That's for sure. Let me, ask you a question. A lot of people bring up Just Soli and Just Sanguine, and I'm sure how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And so let's go to a break and let's come back and talk about that a little bit, because we know that Just Soli is, basically, born here, and Just Sanguine is by the blood. And let's talk about that a little bit. So we'll go to a break.
All right. With that, we'll take a break. This is KCNR 1460.
We're one of the few guys out here that are actually talk about this stuff. And, we want to get to the truth. Do we have a usurper in the White House who is not really legitimately eligible to be there? And, all you have to do is look at what he's been doing. Do you really think he has America's best interest in mind? I mean, can anybody honestly say that at this point?
Yeah, and we just want to know the truth. And there's so many issues, like everything with the government, whether it's the Social Security card, the Selective Service card, whatever. Why don't you just present the evidence and be truthful about it?
Oh, stop it. These guys are the most transparent administration in the history of the government. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, you hater.
Sorry about that, yeah.
You're a hater. That's all it is. It's true.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter, you Easter hater. Anyway, when we left, Orly, I was talking about, Just Soli, which is the right of the soil. And then, I don't know how to pronounce it. My Latin is pretty rusty.
Just sanguinis.
There you go. And that's the right of the blood, basically. And I've had, some of the naysayers on we were just talking about if you're a birther, their Saul Alinsky, tactic has worked very well. Anybody who even mentions this stuff now is totally discredited, whether it's in the media, on the national stage, whatever it is. Nobody wants to look at the evidence. It's right out of Saul Alinsky's playbook. You just demonize them. They're screwed up. And so you don't have to pay attention to any of this stuff. So it's actually working pretty well. But I had an argument with the guy about this particular issue, and he's basically saying that all you have to do is be born here, and you are a citizen eligible to be the president. And I think that's the big argument that the left has been presenting.
Yes, basically the left, of course, does not want to talk about this issue. They're saying, well, he's the president, he's been president for 5 years, just shut up for 3 more years and then vote. But, this is a criminal, and this is the most serious crime in the U.S. history, so it's something that has to be addressed. You cannot just shut up on about it. Plus, just as he fabricated his ideas, he's fabricating results of all kinds of surveys. We found out that in 2012, the U.S. Census information was incorrect, that there was information in regards to unemployment that was fabricated, and absolutely nothing is being done about it. We're seeing Obamacare numbers being very questionable until the last minute, until I would say a week or 2 weeks to the deadline. There were maybe 5 million, and suddenly they said, oh, now we have 7.5 million people that enrolled, and they're not providing information who enrolled and what did those people pay. Are those people citizens? We've seen them advertising Obamacare on Spanish websites, Spanish language websites, saying that illegal aliens can apply. I mean, the man is a fraud all the way around, a fraud and a criminal, and you can't believe anything that he is saying or doing, and that is why it is so important to hear this issue on the merits, make sure that he's removed from the White House, he's criminally prosecuted, that all of the high-ranking officials, U.S. attorneys and judges who are criminal complicit and who committed treason are prosecuted and sent to prison.
That's a good point, Orly, because this is not just about Obama. There seems like there's a lot of treason that's been spread around here. There's a lot of complicity going on here. For this to be occurring at this level, there's a lot more people involved here than just Obama and Valerie Jarrett.
Of course, and this is something that was in the works for years. The organizations like CFR and Bilderberg Group and Davos Group, I mean, for years they were pushing towards the New World Order. How do you achieve a New World Order when there is such a predominant nation as the U.S., with a large GDP, independent, people have their Second Amendment rights? They had to bring somebody who is a foreigner, who has no allegiance to this nation, who feels no love in his heart for this nation, to destroy this nation. So Obama was brought in, who is using bogus ideas, and he is hard at work destroying this nation. He destroyed its economy by incurring $7 trillion worth of debt. Is the same amount of debt that was incurred in 230 years from the first day of presidency of George Washington until somewhere the fifth or sixth year of the presidency of George W. Bush. By the end of this administration, if he is not removed early, he would incur as much debt as all 43 presidents before him. That in itself is criminal. That's simply bankrupting this nation, destroying its economy. For generations, we and our children and grandchildren and generations to come will be paying off the interest on this debt, never mind the principal. I don't know if we'll ever repay the principal. He is destroying the U.S. military. As a matter of fact, here's an interesting tidbit. When I had a case in Georgia, and there he was ordered to appear in court, his attorneys filed a motion to quash the subpoenas, and the judge refused to grant it. So he was supposed to respond to subpoenas. He was supposed to appear in court, provide the documents. He was in contempt of court. And after the hearing, the judge said in a couple of weeks, and what we found out were two interesting facts. One, of course, state of Georgia suddenly got permits to build 2 nuclear plants, even though Obama, of course, was against nuclear power, and he was campaigning on a platform which is against the nuclear power. But second part, which is even more troubling, I found out later that the judge who was presiding the case, Michael Malihi, was actually Persian. He came from Iran. He's an Iranian judge presiding on a case. Obama was ordered to appear, didn't provide any evidence.
Yeah, I remember this.
And shortly thereafter, Obama proposed unilateral reduction of the U.S. nuclear arsenal at the time when Iran is pushing to build nuclear weapons, when Russia is increasing its arsenal. Obama is proposing to unilaterally reduce our nuclear arsenal, and that's when the judge dismissed the case against him. So that is very conspicuous in itself. Further, he recently proposed to discontinue production of Tomahawk missiles, which are by all accounts most powerful missiles. He is purging top officers from the U.S. military. This is definitely a Trojan horse, definitely a Manchurian candidate that is hard at work destroying the U.S. military, U.S. economy, the spirit of American citizens, our national security, industry after industry, and so many corrupt judges and state and federal prosecutors and congressmen and high-level officials who are complicit should be going to prison.
Listen, Orly.
Yeah.
Listen, Orly, we're running out of time. We got about 1:30 seconds. I just wanted to let everybody know that, we want to give your website address again and that you are running for Secretary of State, I believe it is, and that we want to get...
Attorney General.
Or is it Attorney General?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yes.
And we want to get that information out there before we run out of time so
Thank
people
you.
can figure out how to donate to you and that type of thing. So we need people like you getting into office. So, where can they get some money to you and where can they get the information?
Thank you very much. People can go on my campaign website. It's www.ronorly, O-R as in Rita, L as in Lena, Y, ron.com. ronorlyron.com.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.